Hey guys, Ben Polman here and welcome back to this third video in Liftoff's launch workshop. Hopefully you're ready to learn the final pieces of this how do I connect my work and with audiences and the global market puzzle that we've been putting together in the last couple of lessons. Again, this stuff is not taught at film schools. I have no idea why. It's crazy to me, but there you go. And without a doubt, this stuff contains some of the most important pieces in your career, really. And as I say frequently, if you don't take personal responsibility for the life of your project, beyond festival submissions, it's very likely to remain a digital file on a hard drive. So welcome back. I'm Ben Polman, the co-director of the Liftoff Network. I've been helping independent filmmakers connect their projects to audiences in the marketplace for the last 10 years. I think I mentioned before that we've been lucky enough to have some Oscar winners come through the ranks, and it's become my life's work. And increasingly, the work that most excites me is actually helping the new wave director, producer, writer position themselves and their work toward the marketplace. Now, if you missed the first two videos in this free series, I recommend that you stop right now and you go and watch them. It's kind of mandatory viewing, otherwise this final couple of puzzle pieces aren't going to fit very well. And I want you to get the full value of this workshop, so you should really go and watch those videos in order. Don't worry, I'll still be here waiting for you. And in today's lesson, we are shifting our focus towards the international marketplace. Now, there's a hell of a lot to cover, and these videos are quite brief by nature, really. So obviously we can't cover everything, but we will look at, again, tools and practicality, right? What are the most important tactics that I can arm you with today? What are the handful of most important strategy points that will make a difference to your career right now? I mentioned this before, right? But this is the power of having a roadmap. It's a set of tactics that you can try out that will directly impact your own creativity and your ability to resonate with your stories with audiences and connect them with the marketplace. And this bit is the most exciting bit for me, right? Just by covering strategy, just by you watching these videos, it's going to have an impact on you and your creativity. So in the previous lessons, we looked at some great ways to resonate your work with audiences, and we've looked at some ways to begin connecting that work with audiences, and how can you start to use digital technologies to help you with this process. Now, this market piece is kind of the final bit of a creative puzzle. It can be a big scary thing for an independent artist, right? The marketplace, but let's dispel some myths right now. It can seem like the industry as a general body hold all the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, and that they have all the power, but they are nothing without the content. It sounds obvious, but if you really understand that, you realize that the power is in your hands. It's in the creator's hands. And it might seem like you need permission before you can feel like you've made it, in inverted commas, but this is a flawed way of thinking about it. You don't need permission to create, and you certainly don't need anyone's permission to call yourself a director, a writer, or a producer, or whatever your focus is on. So let's get straight to it. What can you do to best position your work toward the marketplace? Now, as usual, there's a PDF download for today's lesson. It covers everything that we're going to cover in today's lesson, and probably more. We'll see how much we can actually get through. But if you haven't done so already, you can download it now. So this question, what can you do to best position your work towards the marketplace? The general concept that I want to get at today is value. If you know the value, if you can communicate the value, if you can make the other party feel the value of the piece, then you are in a position of power. Now imagine this example. A man has a diamond that's worth $10 million. He doesn't really know anyone that can afford that amount for a diamond, so he looks for a partner to help him to sell it. He wants to get a diamond sales agent to help him find the right buyer. Now, the agent specializes in $10 million diamonds and knows all the buyers in the market for a diamond like that, so he's able to maximize the revenue from the sale. So it makes sense for the diamond owner and for the agent to partner up, right? The relationship's a win-win. So here's another example. A girl has some raw materials. Let's say she has all the pieces of a Rolex watch that, if it were a complete watch, would be worth $100,000. But she can't assemble a watch on her own, so she needs to partner with a watchmaking company to help her to assemble it. So she finds a watch production company and partners with them and gives the company a share of the profits. Again, it's a win-win, right? Now, in both cases, the benefit of the relationship and the money made by the different parties comes from the value of the product, right? Film is no different. The value comes from the film, and actually more specifically, value is released when a film is connected with a paying audience. Now, this topic, connecting your projects with the marketplace, is quite a broad topic. There are many reasons that you might want to connect with various different industry partners or players. So first of all, you have to define, what is your goal? And I would assume in the majority of the cases, it's either because you've got a project in development that you want to get made, like the watch example, or you have a completed project that you want to connect with sales or distribution partners, like the diamond example. So for the sake of this lesson, let's take one specific situation, but the concepts can apply to any situation really. Let's say that you have a project, it's a completed script that you want to direct, and you want to approach some production companies or independent producers to help you to get the project off the ground, right? That's a fairly common example. So step one is who. You need to identify who it is you need to talk to. Now, there is no use approaching everybody. There's no use in trying to connect with every production company or every producer that you can find, right? There are niches in filmmaking. There are different genres. There's different audiences, different markets, different formats, etc., etc., etc. So, who are the companies or the people that align with your particular type of work or your vision? Who are the companies that have a track record producing or distributing work that's like yours? So, research. You're gonna have to do some research. Research. Get yourself an IMDb Pro account, start building lists of producers and companies that have been involved in projects that are like yours. What are their track records? What type of work have they historically produced? Is your project similar? Which leads us on to why. So identify why they care. If they are a production company that specializes in, let's take a simple example, right? The horror genre. If they specialize in horror, perhaps more specifically, they specialize in horror by a first-time director, and let's say that you are a first-time director and you've got an amazing horror script, there's a pretty clear example, right? That's a company that you're going to want to talk to. And you're going to have much more success with a company like that one than one who deals with art house, right? Or a producer that focuses on rom-coms. Now, it's an obvious example, but it's really important to highlight. Just by doing these two things, identifying who and identifying why, will put you ahead of most people. Seriously, it's crazy, right? Most people think, I want to make a film, I need to find a producer that can help me make a film. So they start looking for any generic producer or anybody at all really, completely ignoring who and why. Now, the main piece in why will this person or company care is value. What is the value of the project? You need them to feel the value in your project, not just tell them how great you are. Everybody is shouting about how great they are. You need to set yourself apart by actually proving it. And more than that, if you can make them feel it, then you're onto a winner. So to do this, you need to gather all of the materials that you have about your piece to display value to the who. And we call this the package. And you need to do everything you can in your power to make them sit up and take notice. Again, this is all about setting yourself aside from the pack, remember? And you have to realize that some of these people are approached all the time by independent filmmakers. So what can you do to stand out? So let's keep with the example of you are a first-time feature director, you have an amazing script, you want to find a company or a producer to help you get it off the ground. Now, what makes you different from all the other wannabe directors with a script? How are you different from the noise? Why should they care? And how do you make them feel it? So what are these pieces? Let's look at a few possibilities. So the next step is package your project. You need to focus on packaging your project and displaying the value of the piece. What are the valuable elements that you're going to want to include in the package? So consider including the script, the treatment, the synopsis, the character breakdowns. Now, this is where all the value is really. The script can't just be good, it has to be great. And if you don't have the final version of the script just yet, you can include a treatment which should outline the story in full. Make sure that you know all the key elements of the story, and importantly, how and why your story resonates with your audience. So also consider including artwork, storyboards, mock posters. So continuing with the theme of what about your story resonates with the audience. How do you translate these things into the visuals, right? How do you display them in your artwork or a poster or something? Remember, filmmaking's visual. So remember, the aim of the game is to immediately display the value of the piece. So if you were packaging together, I don't know, let's take a really obvious example again. If you were packaging together a movie about dinosaurs, it would be a really good idea to have lots of pictures of dinosaurs, perhaps renders of example CGI, again, focusing on what makes it new, what's different. And where is the value? Why does the audience care? Consider including a proof of concept shoot, could be a scene from the movie or a short film. This is a great way to show the vision of the final piece. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a moving picture is worth 1,000,000. And there's a great story around Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, right? Before he started production on the project, I believe it was to raise the final bit of the money or convince the execs or something. But Baz shot a few scenes with, he got Leonardo DiCaprio in an urban landscape. He shot the aesthetic with the guns, the overall tone of the piece. Perhaps Shakespeare's language, set in a modern landscape with gangs and guns, was a hard sell, but when it's captured for people to see, to taste almost, the vision and the value is much easier to communicate. And now Baz says he does these for every film he makes. Also in the package, consider including all the details about the talent. So details of all the confirmed cast, who are they, why do they bring value to the piece? Also include key details of key creatives and heads of departments, so director of photography, production designer, composers. Imagine you have the production designer, right, for Downton Abbey, and your film is a period piece. That's going to add a ton of value. Also consider including the appeal of your film. Now, this piece really sets you apart, and this is the piece that most people miss, or they just gloss over it. So essentially, who are your audience and how can you reach them? And you get bonus points if you've already started to collect them. Remember the last lesson? Well, include details of all the current marketing activities, show the website that you've built, show your social media pages, and demonstrate who your target audience member is and how you can find them. Now, as I said, this piece really sets you apart from 99% of creatives out there. And if you can demonstrate that your intended audience is already interested in the project and that you're already collecting email addresses, and you're already in contact with them, that you know how you can find them, then wow. Right? You've just shown massive value. If you think about it, right, the biggest challenge for anybody, for filmmakers, production companies, distribution companies, whoever it is the uncertainty of everything. Making a film is a long process, and it's not finished until the film is connected with an audience. And that happens right at the end. And that's the uncertainty, right? So what will happen if the audience isn't interested in it? Well, if you can demonstrate that they are, even if it's just on a small scale, then you have done a remarkable thing, and that's going to set you head and shoulders above the crowd. Can you begin to see the possibility? What would it be like if you were able to implement all of these things into your own work, right? So begin to collect all of these pieces together, and when the time comes, collate them together in a digital package, print out a physical publication, and then you can use it in your presentations and your pitches. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, and you can find a lot more things and ideas in the PDF package, though, so make sure that you download it. Now, one of the biggest stumbling blocks that people tend to have at this stage is they start to worry about all the things that might happen before they actually do happen. I spoke about this before, but if you're not already making work and connecting it with audiences, then there's no point in projecting into the future and worrying about what might happen or who you need to contact or which distributors you need to talk to. And the big problem for a lot of people is that they often feel that they don't have the right connections. There's this deep held belief that a connection will suddenly happen, that suddenly opens the doors, and until that connection happens, everything is closed. Now, that's not true. You will make the connections that you need whilst you're on the path of creating and connecting your work with audiences. So remember the watch analogy, right? If you have all the pieces of a Rolex, it's going to be much easier to engage with the right partners to help you to assemble it because it's a win-win. So don't let these common myths stand in the way of doing the main thing. Of course, network like crazy, develop yourself professionally, but you should be making your art, connecting it with audiences first, then everything else follows. And once you are at the stage of connecting your work with the marketplace, then you can really open doors and begin to think about how you can make money from your creativity. And when you have the ability to communicate value, to demonstrate a clear resonance with audience, then the path in front of you will be much easier to navigate. You'll find a sense of creative freedom and control. You'll no longer be asking for permission to create. And after all, your connection with the audience is the only thing that really matters. And in order to progress your career to the point where you're connecting with the marketplace, you just need to create work, connect it with the audiences first, and then keep on making better work. Can you begin to see how this can work for you in your career? And it's exciting for me to be able to share these strategies with you. It's a privilege, really, to be able to share these concepts. Now, I know that these free videos have already made a big impact on many people, and maybe it's even helped you. And if you're interested in taking this even further and you'd like to work more closely with me and the Liftoff Network, that's essentially why we put together the Production Accelerator program, because these things are not taught in film schools and they're sorely needed by filmmakers around the world. Now, the Production Accelerator is a 5-week program where we have more space and time to go into these topics in much more detail. And the focus is on how do you progress your career to the point where you are able to create $1 million feature film, to fund it and to connect it with the market with a specific view towards distribution. So I'll be opening the course in the next couple of days. We'll enroll a new intake and then we're going to close registration. So if you're interested, please keep a lookout for the email invitation. So the next video will be all about the final pieces of connecting work with audiences in the market, and I'll have lots more details about the Production Accelerator and how you can get started. So look out for that video very soon. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear about how you approach connecting with the industry and how you will utilize these strategies we have outlined today. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and myself and the team will jump in and get them answered for you. So scroll down, leave a comment for me. I've been reading every comment so far. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.